by Naroji G. And also we discussed the concept of economic nationalism. That how together with the social religious reform movement, Dadabhai Naroji, R. Siddharth, G.V. Joshi and M.G. Ranade took away the moral justification of rule. Took away the moral justification and the material justification of the rule. Now everything was exposed in front of the people. That basically they are not developing us, they are underdeveloping us. It is not about the larger concept of being patient with the British. It's not about un-British rule. It is just that the British don't want to develop India itself. It was a exploitative concept. It was a relationship of exploitation. And this is what is going to create the INC's most important moral backing. Now, in the history of the INC, the period between 1885 to 1905 is considered the moderate phase. After 1905, it is considered as the extremist or the militant phase. Now, when we talk about the extremist phase, we will talk about Swadeshi. But what we need to understand here first is who are the moderates. So I hope we all are on the same with regards to page with regards to where nationalism is at this point of time. And we have to understand the methods of the moderates. Why are they important? And why there is a certain importance which is given to them, which people tend to not talk about with regards to the moderates itself, which is that they were the basic foundation on which extremism was possible. So can we now start our discussion with regards to the moderates and analyze what were they doing and what was the concept of the moderates itself? Whatever we done till this point is basically a culmination of two processes. Simple point, the culmination of the Indian National Congress as a process of nationalism, the pre-INC organizations, and economic nationalism very simply was the base on which this whole concept could come through. If there's an audio issue, just refresh. There should be no issue at all. However, simple point is, if there is still one, you have to just click on fix audio. Okay. I'm audible, I'm visible, there's no issue with regards to that, right? If you have, just refresh. Okay, great. Now, to understand the moderates, we need to look at this data. I'm going to give you the list of all Congress sessions and their presidents. That is not an issue. But let's look at the first four: 85, 86, 87, and 88. The first most important thing is that you see the rising exponential number. From the first meeting 72 to 433 to 607 to 1248 by the time it is the fourth session. This is why I say that the British did a blunder, or AOUM did not realize how quickly this is going to become such an important concept. Now, if you look at their professions, which is the biggest group that was, if you analyze this data? It's lawyers. Very good. Now, basically, others are others, but lawyers are single-handedly the biggest group in this concept. Now, what is common to the lawyer, the journalist, the doctor, or the others is basically they all are nothing but products of modern education. So basically, they all have a certain understanding that they're products of the modern education policy, and they are nothing but the middle class intelligentsia. However, their methodology has been considered as a form of moderate methodology. And what characterizes their methodology, therefore, is called the 3 P's. Can we discuss the 3 P's or the 3 methodology? What makes them moderates? Moderates: technique, the three P's of the moderates, what makes them a moderate is basically prayer, petition, protest, peaceful, and constitutional. Now, basically, the moderates have an underlying faith. And this is the problem with the moderates. They believe that the British are inherently good, but they don't know about the problems of India, about the problems of India. And these people will dominate the INC for the first 20 years, which is that they believe that the British are good, are good. It's just that they don't know that the problems of India are in front of them. Basically, British are good. But somehow they are not conscious of the havoc which they themselves perpetuate. Which is that they are deindustrializing India, they are destroying India, they are what is called looting India, they are draining India, but pata nahi. They don't know what they've done. Famines are happening, they don't know. So their basic point was, their methodology was twofold. We will tell the British that there's a problem. See, famines are happening. And then they will use what is called prayer and petition. Please help us. Please. We are your loyal citizens. Please do something. Please. We will write a petition. Please do something. Famines are happening. Please don't be exploitative. Please. It's about prayer and petition. That please help us. You are the benevolent industrial power. You can help us for sure. So please, we want civil services representation. Please. Prayer, petition, and protest would be that they would go in front of the DM's office and sit there and then say, please help us. You don't know how things are in the countryside. Please help us. Prayer, petition, protest. The three P's. We will petition you. We will technically want you to listen to our prayers, that there is problem in India and we are making you conscious of it. We are making you conscious of it. And now please help us. See, moderates have one thing, is that they want to reform colonialism, not reject colonialism. Basically, this whole list of men you see here, from W.C. Banerjee, Raj Bihari Ghosh, to Surendranath Banerjee, R.C. Dutt from Bengal, from Dadabhai Naoroji to Gopal Krishna Gokhale to Firoz Shah Mehta, most important moderate, to Anand Charlu, to S. Iyer, to Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, to Hume and Wedderburn, both English themselves. The main complaint was that you are un-British. Your inner sense of justice needs to come out. You need to be the one you need to be. You don't have to remember their names. These names will be so sprinkled around that you would have to learn them either way. Dadabhai Naroji you already know. Gokhale I'm going to talk about. Firoz Shah Mehta I'm going to talk about. So don't have to worry about that. Simple point is, these men embody a concept that basically there's an immaturity in their understanding of colonialism. And the basic point of the matter is they want to reform colonialism. They want to reform colonialism. Are we understanding the twofold approach here? What is the twofold approach? The first fold approach is make the British conscious of their problems and then prayer, petition and protest. Prayer, petition and protest. They wanted to evolve a constitutional agitation which is slow and orderly, and they believed that basically British wanted to do just to the Indians. They were not aware of their real conditions. They want to do good, but somehow bad is happening. Somehow bad is happening. Their understanding was British are good. Somehow they are good, but galat ho raha hai. Wrong is happening. Somehow the British are un-British in India. So they don't realize that basically it's not being un-British. They are like this only. So their two-pronged approach was create public opinion and arouse consciousness, awaken the sense of justice and humility and the people's ethics. You think the British have ethics? We have seen now been gone through a long period of time. The British have ethics? No. These are innocent men who think that the British have some sense of moral justice. They are ruthless bastards. They literally don't care. But they believe that somehow if we are going to say, please, prayer, please, please, little bit more, little bit more. See, Dadabhai Naroji is going to talk about un-British rule. He is the father of moderates. He was very clear that he pointed out that but Gandhi is very different. Gandhi is very different. I'll tell you that. Gandhi is very different that way. He follows a peaceful means, but he does not believe in the inherent. See, they believe that their prayer and petition will work. They believe that the inherent benevolence, there is something inherent benevolent about the British. They're inherently benevolent. Un-British rule means British rule is good, but somehow they forgot how to rule when they came to India. That is why un-British rule. Un-British rule. British rule is good. Inherent benevolence means inherent goodness. 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 That basically British are good. They're good. But we can use prayer and petition to bring it out. This is the moderate approach. See, before I go to what they achieved and not, I am saying in a certain tone. I'm saying it in a certain tone. It seems innocent. But the moderates were actually very smart. The moderates were very, very smart. I'll tell you why. Because in between 1885 and 1905, if they had not literally talked about, please, the British would have crushed the INC very, very quickly. Basically, moderate mentality is not their innocence or a properly oblivious concept. It's a concept which is very strategic. And the strategy is, don't let the British think that we are too radical. We are too radical. Simple point. Bit by bit, ask for something. The moderates literally created the base on which the Indian national movement could rise and mature. Basically, moderates is that phase which allowed nationalism to spread. Nationalism to spread. So as much as it is please, prayer, petition, and they did believe in the inherent benevolence. But the moderate phase is a very important phase because that allows the blossoming of an understanding, the fact that economic nationalism, the realization that we were being looted, to spread. So if you will read any random book, they tend to discount the moderates. Moderates are useless, can't do anything. Moderates have always been seen as the mouthpiece of the British. But the British were technically, literally irritated by the moderates. Literally irritated by the moderates. And the irritation was very simple. See, Dadabhai showed the mirror that he's an economic nationalist. But how can he be a moderate? Because he's not saying that let us destroy the whole British rule in India. He is the one who makes this realization that, okay, they are looting us, but he believed that that was an inherent non-quality of the British. Somehow the British, if he was not a moderate, then his book would not have said poverty and un-British rule. It would be poverty and British rule in India. Are you getting my point? Why the word un-British says that he believes that the British are inherently good, but somehow they had lost their way in India. The moderates have this problem that they somehow think that it will work. That it will work. Simple point. You want more moderate leaders? I showed you. From W.C. Banerjee to Raj Bihari Ghosh to Surendranath Banerjee to Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Firoz Shah Mehta. Firoz Shah Mehta was actually a very, very strong moderate leader. He did not believe that the British were here to exploit us. He believed that basically moderate mentality, government, if given the time, will do right. Please understand this point. Moderate mentality is very simple. There are three basic aspects here. They believe that the British are inherently good. Inherently good. See, it is based on the concept that it is inherently good. They are unaware of the true realities of India. Once make them conscious. Once make them conscious, they will change. See, you and me know that that is not true. The basic point of the matter is we know that the British will never change because we have the most important perspective, which is hindsight. Hindsight 2020, that we are looking 75 years after independence. But moderates basically are in that moment, in a way, dealing with what they have to deal. Their prayer, petition, and protest was a necessary compromise. Please understand this. You tell me one thing. When a child wants something, you tell me. When a child wants something, does he say it to the parent or he just goes and breaks things? He says it. You have a moderate phase, you have an extremist phase. When your parents say, for example, that do something, you first say that you don't want to do. That is your moderate phase. Telling the parent you don't want that. However, if you still have to do it, then you start to sabotage things, which is technically extremist phase. Same way, the INC cannot be born on 1885 and in 1886 say, destroy the British, burn the British, come here, let's bring the British, put them on a fire and burn all of them. Are you getting my point? The basic point of the matter is that they are very smart. They're not innocent. This is what I'm trying to say. Moderates are not dumb. They are smart. They basically are doing three things, which is first, that they knew they cannot be too radical. They knew if they are rejecting colonialism, then British will crush. And they knew that nationalism needed to grow and blossom. And basic point of the matter is, the moderates are that phase in which the seed is in the ground. The seed is in the ground. The shoot has not come up, but the roots are being made. The roots are being made. So basically, basic point is that moderates are not dumb. So if I ask you, what is the historical importance of the moderates? I hope now you will not ridicule Firoz Shah Mehta and say that he was just there to do prayer, petition and protest. Prayer, petition and protest was the only available thing which would not make them too radical for the British to crush them. Are you getting my point? Because there's a certain representation of moderates in history. We need to go beyond that. Moderates very smartly knew how to survive the initial phase of, or last phase of, 19th century. They unfortunately did believe that they are inherently good, but they also have the consciousness that they would have to believe that. You can't prosecute the moderates because they believe that the British is inherently good. You and me are sitting here and seeing the moderates. Don't judge the moderates, because you are not sitting in 1885 when the British are at their most mightiest. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point? Because that is the most important concept here. Moderates have a certain agenda that is based on inherent benevolence or inherent goodness of the British. However, that inherent benevolence is the only way the moderates could go forward. Right? So when we talk about these moderates, the moderate approach is two-pronged. Two-pronged. Tell the British and then persuade the British. Prayer, petition and protest is the only way it happens. And basic point of the matter is that the moderates are an extremely important phase of Indian history. We'll talk about their demands and their things, but you need to understand this. They are an preparatory phase. Even Gandhi had a moderate phase, which I will discuss with you tomorrow. Gandhi also had a moderate phase, but that moderate phase was not here, but in South Africa. Everybody has a moderate phase. Moderate phase is the period in which you patiently wait. Once the moderate agenda is going to fail, then only you can go for extremism. Please understand this. Swadeshi movement cannot be the Swadeshi movement if the moderate phase was not there. So please do not discount or discard the moderates for their prayer, petition and protest methodology. Can we all agree to this? I will discuss the difference between moderates and extremists. Don't worry about that. The major difference being reforming and rejecting. First, you understand who is the moderate. We understand who is a moderate? Very good. Now, you do not have to learn this. Do not have to learn this. But we know that the moderates, have a certain orientation because of their demands also. For example, they said that abolition of Indian Council to prevent Secretary of State for working for Indian welfare. 2 new members in Viceroy's Executive Council. Increased participation in provincial and central legislative assembly. 50% elected representation from local bodies. New council for Northwestern Frontier Province and Punjab. The budget should be referred on put to vote. Right to appeal to standing committee of the House of Commons, which is to go to the British Parliament and say that nothing good is being happening. You don't write any of this. You don't write any of this. But you don't have to learn this also. But in any of the demand, do they say go back the British or we reject British? Yes, yes, Labdi, that's a good way of saying it. Prayer, petition, protest nurtured the roots of nationalism. Perfect. Okay. So all demands are just about reforming, not rejecting. Please remember this. They are not rejecting colonialism, they are reforming colonialism. Same way, civil services examination reform, they were obsessed with the ICS exam as we are today, which is that they wanted simultaneous exam in India and London, and they wanted the age to be increased to 23, so that the people don't have to drain so much money to go to London and learn in their system. They also wanted Indianization, which is more men in ICS. And more than that, their demand will be met, but only in 1922, 1924 for the first time, Allahabad and London, both simultaneous exam. Further, they also talked about decreased military expenditure. That Indian army should not be used or should only be used in Africa, Asia, not in other places. There should be only a small fraction which should be shared by Indians. Rendered insignificant because of the low exchange rates. As it is, it was useless. Indians should be taken as volunteers. India should not be part of the larger British expanding agenda. So if you look at their whole concept, their only contribution is going to be the Indian Council Act, which I'm going to discuss with you very soon. But it was mostly highly unsatisfactory in the larger context. However, we know their place in history, which is that they had to be like that to survive in the larger context. Please understand this. They had to be like this in order to survive the larger context of British rule in India. Please, this is the only point I'm trying to tell you, which is moderates. Don't have to learn the names of moderates, extremists. This is not a school examination. Understand the underlying logic, because I'm going to give you a question here, and you should be able to easily understand that concept, that the moderates are part of the larger nationalistic history, and if they are a part of the larger concept, they have a certain role, and that certain role is about nurturing nationalism. You cannot be radical in the first instance itself. You have to change your orientation, but for that, nationalism needed to spread. The realization had to spread. Don't have to learn the demands. Basic point is, what is their approach? Their approach is very simple, which is the concept of two things: make the British conscious and prayer, petition, and protest. If you actually can contextualize, they are in 1885. The memory of 1857 is still alive with the British. What would the British do if they get to know that a violent rebellion is coming? What would they do to the INC? What would they do to the INC? They would literally crush it. They would literally crush the INC, because anything which comes close to 1857 levels, the British are already in a major shock at that point of time. The sleepless nights, the nightmares have not gone. Britishers used to wake up saying 1857. So that level of fear is still there. Is still there. So basic point is, their method is make the British conscious, then prayer, petition, please. However, this approach was necessary for survival. Please understand this point. This is a necessary concept or essential concept, essential for survival in the context of the nationalistic consciousness. Still, nationalism is only in the upper middle class and middle class, not in the masses. However, the only major issue in their thinking is that they believed that the British are inherently good, and in India have lost their way. However, in the overall context, they are the foundation of nationalism. Without moderates, there cannot be extremists. Are we all on the same page? There is enough criticism which is available. There is enough criticism available for the moderates, but let us recontextualize the moderates a little bit. That basically moderates need to be seen in their larger context. They could not be saying burn the British in 1885, because that would be close to 1857, and therefore the INC would be crushed. The survival of the British, the survival of the INC is basically based on the importance of the moderate methodology. As it is, weakness is lack of belief in the capacity of the masses. They believe that the masses are technically not ready to do anything, not too radical, and did not like the militant approach. There is no pan-India organizational impact generally. They don't take youth and women into the whole concept, and that is basically based on their composition. They come from very urban spaces, upper caste, upper class, and zamindars and lawyers, and the neglect and lack to connect to rural masses. At one point of time, people used to say that the INC is nothing but a 3-day holiday, because they always meet. A pan India means all India. It's a 3-day holiday which all these people do. It always happens in December. 3 days they meet at some location or the other. So people used to say that moderates are technically vacationing every year at the expense of its members. But as I said, moderates are much more important in the larger context of Indian nationalism. The economic theory which the moderates did create generated anger, but they were not able to convert it. Their intrinsic faith in the British rule was the problem, and their prayer, petition, and protest was not going to work, because this was not Britain but India. And the inherent contradiction between the two, which is their way of reforming colonialism and colonialism, was never going to work, and they never discussed the social question. See, there is no denying that the moderates are moderates. They are moderates because they are conservative. They don't want to do too much. They just want to survive. INC embodies this feeling till 1907, technically till 1916. But moderate politics is important for the larger context. Can I give you a question and you see how that question can manifest itself? Can we do that? And then we discuss extremists and then the constitutional development. Okay, very good, perfect. Yes, very good. That's a good way of saying it, Sachin. Moderates following the same path which the British followed in the earlier days in India. That's also true. This is to just wait and watch, let them take root and then become what it is. Now you see, can you answer this type of question? In spite their inherent defects, in spite their inherent defects, the moderates represent an important phase of nationalism in India. Comment. Can you write this question? 150 or 250 words? Now, are you getting why am I trying to take you out of the ridiculing factor? Because if you will ridicule them too much, you will reflect it in a serious question. In a serious question like this, you will say they are useless, 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 useless. Preparation, please, 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 please. But this question is not about pleasing. It's about talking about the role of the moderates in the larger context. In the larger context. Moderates is clear. Very small section. Nothing here. Moderates clear. Right? Okay. Very good. Now, we have to do two acts which were passed in between this period before we go to extremists and Swadeshi. You can talk about the reforms in the question. You can talk about anything. The basic point of the matter is you have to talk about the methodology. However, how that methodology is necessary in the given time, and in the given moment. Can we discuss now two very important acts, Indian Council Act 1861 and Indian Council Act 1862. 1861 and 1892, Indian Council Act. Because I need your attention now. Whatever this was much more rhetorical, which was to think and understand the moderate methodology. Now I want your attention because we have to understand two constitutional development. A lot of questions come from this area, can be asked in UPSC also. Generally, it is important that you understand constitutional development. Can we discuss this? Everybody is clear about moderates. I want everybody's assertion. I want everybody to be on the same page with me. Are we clear about the moderates and their necessary foundational role in nationalism? Yes? Great. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. Now, how does broad base of nationalism? Perfect. Great. Firoz Shah Mehta would be happy to see us all today. Very good. Now, let us refresh our memory. Let us refresh our memory. Yes, yes, Sai, you have access to PPTs. Don't worry. Once this class is over, annotated PPTs are given to you. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Okay. Amit, just put your question again. I'm not able to see it as of right now. Just push it again. No issues, Yashovarman. Now concentrate. The most important area is this one. Next half an hour is going to be important. Okay. Let's refresh our memory. What is the structure of Indian colonialism as of 1860? Now you can say it with me, and if you have a pen and paper, maybe if don't, just scribble with me so that you revise with me, right? So you have the Secretary of State, also called the India House, along with 15 members. along with 15 members. Thereafter, this is the setup in England. In India, he operates via the Governor General and Viceroy. Governor General and Viceroy. And he has his two councils, Executive Council and Legislative Council. And thereafter, he has Governor of Madras, Governor of Bombay, and Governor of Bengal. Which body makes the laws for everybody? Crown and PM is assumed. Crown and Prime Minister is assumed. Which body makes the laws for everybody? Whole of India, who will make the law? Which body? Not the Governor General, Viceroy. Which council? This council, legislative means law making, executive means execute. This body makes the law for all of British India. What did we call this concept? 73 SCLC. What did we call this concept? What was that LC in 73 SCLC? Very good. Great. Legislative centralization. This is basically the process of legislative centralization. That all laws in India come out of the Legislative Council, be it for Bengal, Madras, or be it for Bombay. This structure is clear to everybody. It will be acted upon by the Executive Council. Legislative Council is the one which makes for everything. Great. Now comes the Indian Council Act of 1861. This is before the formation of the INC. This is to reorganize India in a way. So they will do the following things. Secretary of State plus 15 members. This is not changed. Basically, England, no change. Yeah, Executive Council will give the governors the orders, and the governors will act in the name of the Executive Council. Very good. Now, under this, so England, no change. Under this, you have Governor General of India and Viceroy, and he has his Legislative Council and Executive Council. And thereafter, the first major change is there are certain provinces which are created, or presidencies which are created. You have Governor of Bengal, you have Governor of Madras, you have Governor of Bombay. Till this point, is the structure exactly the same? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes? Very good. Now there will be two presidencies which will be added. Governor of North Western Province, which is nothing but technically Pakistan, Afghanistan sector. I'll not write it, but just before you will say Pakistan exists. No, it doesn't exist. Northwestern Province. And you have governor of Punjab. So two new, one, two new presidencies. Awadh not right now. Awadh not right now. Two new presidencies. Now things will become interesting. These were the only this because by 1861 they had concentrated and collaborate and what was those calibrate this area. So Madras, Bengal and Madras, Bengal and Bombay is more or less 80% of India. But now they've consolidated the whole Punjab sector and the whole Pakistan sector. So they have now created two new presidencies. The logic is that they've consolidated it. So you just learn it that there are two new which are added. But what is more interesting is what happens to the executive councils and the legislative council. For the first time, three Indians will be nominated to the legislative council. For the first time, Indians got access to lawmaking, but the British obviously will fill it with all its loyalists. Three loyalists were put in, non-official members as they were called, non-official members. This was the first change. This is the second change. The third change is actually in the executive council. In the executive council, they introduced the concept of portfolio system. Portfolio system. What does portfolio system mean? That basically every member has designated responsibility. Basically, we believe that it's like the ministry system. Ministry system. How you have portfolios today, that you will say every time the general election will happen, the all newspapers and all the news channel will say portfolio allocation, portfolio allocation, portfolio allocation. That portfolio allocation means what ministry who will get. So give me an example of a portfolio. Give me an example of a portfolio. Defense, finance, home, Jal Shakti, foreign, climate change, education, skill development, anything, everything, health, education. So you get the concept of portfolio. But the most important change happens at the provincial level. At the provincial level, which is that fourth change. Every province gets its own legislative council, which was called provincial legislative council. And for the first time, we now argue legislative decentralization now starts. Legislative decentralization starts in the sense that now provincial legislative assembly can make laws for province. So basically, if I had to show you the structure in an easy sense, Secretary of State without all this clutter, GGI and Viceroy, Executive Council and Legislative Council, Thereafter, Bengal, Madras, Bombay, Northwestern Frontier, Punjab. Yes, these are technically Vidhan Sabhas. Very good. It's technically Vidhan Sabhas. They all get their own LCs, PLCs, PLC, 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 which is Provincial Legislative Council. Does not make laws for the provinces now, but only all India. They make laws for the province. But as you know, the jurisdiction is limited. Whose jurisdiction is limited? Whose jurisdiction is limited? Subject has not been used. The concept of jurisdictional, what is called legislative jurisdiction, is not there at this point of time. This is not there. It's going to come, but not right now. So PLCs are having limited jurisdiction, which is to territoriality. Simple point is PLC or the Provincial Legislative Council is nothing but your concept of Vidhan Sabha, or what we call as Legislative Assembly today. You have the Parliament, and then you have the legislative assemblies in the states. Same exact relationship. Legislative Council, Central Legislative Council becomes the Parliament, and the PLC becomes the concept of Legislative Assembly. Right now, no jurisdictional concept. Right now, this doesn't really matter. Is the 3 or 4 most important changes clear? Clear? Yes. So let's read it out. 1858 Act introduced. The Act will get passed by 1861. It will expand the Viceroy's Executive Council. It will have a 5th member, which is a new member added, but with a different portfolio. But the most interesting first major change is Canning will nominate 3 Indians: Raja of Banaras, Raja of Patiala, Sir Dinkar Rao, all loyalists to the Legislative Council. And thereafter, non-official members were nominated. Now, portfolio system was introduced in the Executive Council. For legislative purpose, Governor General's Council was enlarged. However, power of proclamation or promulgation of ordinance and emergency given to Governor General. All bills related to public revenue, military, what is called religion, foreign affairs, could not be passed without Governor General assent. Restored the legislative powers of Bombay and Madras. Legislative councils will be added to all of them. And now, basically, legislative councils in the provinces is going to be the most important. The problem is that, see, these points will in themselves make no sense. If you can remember this whole structure, and if you can write them down, the 4 points which I told you, it is more than enough. Because in official language, because I picked up the exact official language of the act, simple point is there are 2 provinces added. Thereafter, the concept of 3 members to Legislative Council, the portfolio system, and the Provincial Legislative Council. Can we all agree to all of these points? Yes? So what is the major development? This is the major development. Legislative decentralization. I want everybody's assent, and then we go to the next one, 91. Rather 92. Perfect? Great. Assessment. beginning of institutions associated with lawmaking Indians enter. Indians were nominated, though there's no statutory provision to include Indians. Limited role of legislative council because they cannot discuss finances. So the PLCs are in a way magic. See, the basic point of the matter is it says that we are in break, it says this banner. So don't think that there's an issue. when the cabinet mission asked, and we'll discuss this again when we go, when the cabinet mission had asked Jinnah, where do you want Pakistan, he pointed out to 9 different parts of India, and that too, little bit of Pakistan, little bit of Bangladesh, little bit of UP, little bit of MP, little bit of this, little bit of that. 9 Pakistan is asked for. And then the cabinet mission, Pethick Lawrence, was sitting there and said that, are you extremely drunk that you are telling us this story? That where you want Pakistan, they called it moth-eaten Pakistan. That somebody had just torn Pakistan and threw it on India. Abhinav, that's a different Shimla deputation. We'll discuss that. The Morley Minto one, this is a different Shimla deputation. This is the absurdity of his existence. Did not know where he wanted Pakistan. And ironically, where he wanted Pakistan, he didn't get it. Jinnah never wanted Pakistan where it is today. Never. Jinnah loved Bombay. Jinnah loved Bombay, where his wife is, the grave of Jinnah's wife is still in Bombay. And to Nehru, he said that you take Karachi, give me Bombay. Nehru said that you're again drunk. That was the level of absurdity which Jinnah actually embodied. Where he wanted, he did not get. I'll talk about where he actually wanted it. We'll discuss this when we'll talk about cabinet mission and all. But remember one thing before you leave for today is that the British created Jinnah, the people of India did it. Remember this point, and you will thereafter always understand what Jinnah's politics is. The people did not create Jinnah, British did. And that is the sad part of the story. Then we meet tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Tomorrow we discuss another set of interesting things. We'll start our story in 1897 and we'll talk about political extremism, and rather we'll discuss what is called revolutionary activities part 1. Anusilan Samiti, Mitra Mela, Savarkar brothers. We'll talk about other important activities which were done during this period. Frasers, Fuller, those were the people who wanted to slap the Britishers. Literally slap the Britishers. While Lal Bal Pal technically embodied political extremism, there's a parallel story here which we have to discuss, which we will do tomorrow. Right? And by Wednesday, we will call Gandhi to India. Done? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will see you.